Hello, everybody. How is everyone this evening? It's Wednesday evening and it's the last day of November. There's nobody watching yet, which is understandable because it is an awkward time for people to try get home from work and get kids fed and sorted out. So if you do hop on, please say hello, because when we do these live videos, you can't see who's watching. You can only see the numbers of people. So hi, Carla. I'm smiling because I can't wait for your chocolate, even though chocolate's kind of contrary to what we're going to talk about. Julianne, hi. Catherine, happy December Eve. Annie, I cannot tell you how glad I am to see you, Annie. Like, seriously, I say that from the bottom of my heart. So there's a lot of new members into this group as well. If you don't know who I am Shemaine Linney. I am a fitness and nutrition expert, certified iridologist. I'm a personal trainer, a Pilates instructor, and I've just started my training to become an integrative health practitioner as well. I've been in the industry since 2008. So I like to think I have a little bit of knowledge around stuff, but sometimes I get proven wrong. So who else? Janelle, all of a sudden you're calling me kiddo, and you did it earlier too. Leanne, let's fix your gallbladder, yes. So if Melanie hops on, Melanie is one of my friends, I also train her as well. She told me that sometimes when I talk, it can be very confusing and I use long words that nobody understands, or it's really hard to understand. So I have wrote down a lot of what I want to say today, so hopefully it's easily understood. And also, most of you who know me know I go off on tangents all the time. So I'm going to try not to do that because I want to make as best use of our hour as I can. Hi, Laurie. Anyone else, please say hi, because again, you can't see who's watching. You can only see the numbers. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end to answer questions, but hopefully I do a good job and answer all the questions as we go on. Leanne and I. Oh, hi. I wasn't expecting you to. Okay, let's get into it. And it is December Eve. And to be honest, I'm over November. Like, see you later. Let's go. And Catherine, you know what my last day of November has been like. So I'm happy to see November gone. Hi Chantal, I've been thinking about you. Lisa, yeah, Leanne, Lisa. Okay, let's get into this. So I want to discuss the gallbladder. The gallbladder is a huge issue, and I've said to you, Julianne, and I've said to many people that I think everybody should act like they have gallbladder issues, because nowadays it is so prominent. Nearly all of my aunts have had their gallbladders removed. My mom, my sister is due for surgery now in January. I definitely don't want that. I would like to retain all of my body parts, but I understand sometimes surgery is necessary. And if you have already got your gallbladder removed, that's okay too. We're going to go through all of this and hopefully you glean some knowledge bits. I hope you guys have a pen and paper, but this will be uploaded onto YouTube and saved here as well, so you can go back and watch it and take more notes. Okay, so gallbladder, it's a big issue, more so than I think people realize. Most people think, oh, it's just my gallbladder, I don't need it. And over the years, kind of like the appendix, people were told, oh, like, it's just your gallbladder, it's fine, it's not a big deal. But the more the research comes out, the gallbladder is a huge deal, like a huge deal, especially when it comes to immunity and cholesterol and estrogen detoxification and IBS and loads of stuff. Like, the gallbladder is a big deal. So if we can preserve it, awesome. But even if we don't have a gallbladder, you still have a lot of the same mechanisms. I've had this conversation with people. Your liver is what makes the bile, not your gallbladder. And even if you have your gallbladder removed, you can still make gallstones, because stones, as we're going to get into it, they're made from bile and cholesterol. It's not made from magic gallbladder stuff turned into stones. Like, you can still make them. So this information is important to know. So let's go. And you'll see me kind of like flicking through my notes because I'm trying to stay on track. What is the gallbladder? So the gallbladder is a storage site for bile. It doesn't make bile. The liver makes bile, and then it's stored in the gallbladder where it gets concentrated and then released when we eat food. So most people, I think, know that the gallbladder is relevant for fat digestion, but it's also very important for protein digestion as well. Now bear with me, I'm going to get into some really good stuff, so I'm just going to try to keep it as kind of understandable as possible, so you can thank Melanie for that. So starting at the start, because it's important to understand how this all works. So we have our stomach, we eat our food, and we chew our food. And I mentioned this on my Instagram and Facebook stories earlier. Chewing is very important. And ideally, we would like one chew for every tooth that we have. And if you've only got 2 teeth, well, you probably shouldn't be chewing it anyway. But that would be approximately 32 chews, which is a bit extreme. So even 15 chews is reasonable. And chewing is beneficial for many things. It increases the surface area, but it also signals your body to release stomach acids and enzymes, which of course we need to help break down the food. Then your food goes down your esophagus and into your stomach. Now, your stomach needs a really nice low pH for proper digestion. So your stomach acid is generally around 1 is the pH, and this comes up a lot when I talk about apple cider vinegar. The pH of apple cider vinegar is about 4. Your stomach is 1. So apple cider vinegar is not making too much of a difference on the acidity of your stomach, but we will feel it differently if we have an empty stomach, if there's tissue damage, and so on and so on. But just to get that out of the way. So we want to have that really low, proper pH for digestion. So overall, our body is very good at managing its pH. Like, some of the body's going to be very acidic and some of it's going to be alkaline. We want it like that. Your mouth is going to be alkaline. Your lady parts are going to be very acidic, and we want it like that. It helps to protect us. Now, hydrochloric acid, that is the acidity or the acid that's in your stomach to help get this digestion done. And like I mentioned, it's about a pH of 1. And it can alter slightly when we eat, but not a lot. And it not only does it help with digestion, it's very important for helping us to kill off pathogens as well. And hydrochloric acid does have this downstream effect that signals for bile production. So we've got our hydrochloric acid, which is acidic, and when this pH is nice and low, which we want it to be, which is why I'm always saying, let's not mess around with alkaline water or alkaline drinks. You're going to pay a price. They are going to mess up your gut, and they will. They will. You know that old saying of let's not fix what's not broken? Like, we never needed alkaline drinks before. Let's not do it now because they cause more problems. You do not want to be messing with the pH of your stomach. That will have a ripple effect through your intestines and right down to your lady parts, which I call them, which is nice and polite and appropriate. But it will. Alkaline drinks will change that whole pH, and next of all, you're getting infections, and that's not fun. So we have this nice pH in our stomach, and that then signals for enzymes to be produced. One of the main enzymes that gets increased is pepsin, and a lot of people you'll see it, like if you get a HCl supplement, it might say betaine, HCl, and pepsin. So pepsin you can kind of think of as our main enzyme, and it is a proteolytic enzyme, and there's lots of proteolytic enzymes. So proteo really means protein, so this enzyme eats protein. Enzymes I think of as Pac-Men. They go around eating stuff and cleaning stuff up. And then lytic means to break or cut or eat up, so proteolytic. So the enzymes break the food down further in your stomach, which then becomes chyme, which is a mixture of the food, enzymes, and acid. And if you're a private client of mine, and you've probably spoke about this before, in regards to the apple cider vinegar I've spoke about, if you do have a lot of this chyme at the bottom of your stomach, like mulch, and you take apple cider vinegar, the apple cider vinegar probably won't be that bad. Like, you won't feel as grossed out by it because you have this kind of protective layer. But if your stomach is very empty and you have no chyme or mulch, then you're throwing that vinegar straight in on an empty stomach on acid, and it'll just feel gross, really, unless there's some other issues going on. But that's that chyme, and I speak about it a lot with people because it's important to understand why some mornings you might be okay with apple cider vinegar, and some mornings you might want to die. So we have this chyme, which is kind of the mulch. It's the mixture of the food and the acid and the enzymes and everything. Then it comes to the gallbladder, and when it comes to the gallbladder, we do need this low pH because the gallbladder is supposed to be a very antibacterial space, and that low pH of the stomach acid, it signals to the gallbladder to, hey, release bile. So this is where, again, messing around with those alkaline waters and drinks really can cause a problem. Someone's going to ask for examples. There's one, and I think it's just called alkaline water, and then there's the Flow brand, and they're really nice, and they have a cucumber flavor and a strawberry. Like, they're really nice, but you're going to pay a price. And this does go back to me saying, like, I didn't make up the rules. This is just how it is. It's just how it works. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you like Flow. Before I go on, does anyone here, and you are a lot of smart cookies, know a few ways we can increase hydrochloric acid? And you'll definitely know this if you listened to my bloating podcast the other day. So I mentioned apple cider vinegar is one. Mom doesn't have one. Oh, well, Danielle, I had mentioned in the beginning that this is for everyone. Everyone should act like they don't have a gallbladder so they take care of themselves better, or that they have gallbladder issues. Janelle, alkaline drinks are drinks that have a pH higher than 7, so pH of 8, 9, 10, and they have proposed health benefits, which is BS in my opinion, like complete BS. Your body's going to regulate its own pH itself to keep you alive, but they will alter the pH. So lemon water, Annie, yes, lemon will help because it'll stimulate the vagus nerve. So lemon water is great, and we're going to get to lemon shortly towards the end, looking at one really interesting study in regards to lemon and olive oil. Some of you might remember, but also just sucking on lemon. And I've gone through a time recently. That's why this is up here, because my sister's about to go to gallbladder surgery, and I had some gallbladder issues due to stress over the summer, and I was sucking on lemons, and I was doing everything. So I'd like to think I'm kind of well versed in it right now because I'm still alive. So we've got lemons, we got our vinegars, all vinegars, even sea salt can be great. Bitter, tart, sour foods, and we're going to go into more stuff at the end, but to boost hydrochloric acid, like those are, if you didn't want to go the supplement route, or maybe finances were tight and you wanted to go the food route, bitter, tart, sour foods, if you just did a load of lemons and limes and vinegars, you'd be well on your way. So now we've got the chyme, and it enters your small intestine, and that triggers some more enzymes. And we're going to get into this, but hopefully I don't lose you. Just stay with me. This is important. So two of these are cholecystokinin, which is also known as CCK, and then secretin. Some of you may have heard me talk about that before. So these two enzymes specifically help to break down our fats and proteins. And I say help because they're not the solo ones, but they help. So CCK, this cholecystokinin, that's stimulated by increased fat. So that's the one, that is the enzyme that helps us with the bile when we have like a lot of avocado or a lot of cheese or cream or something like that. Dare I say chocolate with Carla watching. But so CCK is the enzyme that gets released, and that causes your gallbladder to contract. So your gallbladder is this pouch, it has all the bile, and it starts to contract, not once, but many like little pumps to pump out the bile. And this produces and releases the bile, or you might hear them referred to as bile salts. Same thing. So just to clarify, because I think I missed it at the start, your gallbladder is this small pouch. It's like a small organ, and it sits just on your upper right abdominal section, so your right, and it's slightly below the liver, a little bit to the back. So it would be your upper right. So where your rib cage is, you go about 2 inches underneath that, and that would be around where your gallbladder is, a little bit to the back. And it is just this little pouch, a little storage site. And it will take, so your liver then is above it, and your liver will make the bile, and the gallbladder will then take the bile and store it, and in there it'll also concentrate the bile, so it makes it more potent by up to 15 times. So you got this really potent bile in a healthy body ready to do the job for us. So then once it concentrates the bile and you eat and you have this CCK stimulation, so these enzymes saying, hey, she just had a load of chocolate, let's release these enzymes and bile salts to help her digest. Now we've got this, gallbladder contracts, it releases everything, and then that pushes, supposed to push everything into the small intestine. Supposed to. So bile's primary purpose is to break down fat. It does help with protein as well, but it emulsifies fat like soap on a greasy pan, or like vinegar would with grease. It emulsifies it. It also is really important for detoxification. I need people to take this home because I've been trying to drive this home to my sister all week. Bile is an important detox mechanism for cholesterol and bilirubin, or hemoglobin, which is like broken down skeleton remains of blood cells. So we are going to get into some of the side effects later of having your gallbladder removed. People don't like to hear this stuff, but it's important you know all angles. So with what I just said there, bile being really important for detoxifying cholesterol, and then your bilirubin, like your waste products. If you don't have optimal bile function, what's happening to that cholesterol? So this is an important consideration. So, vinegar is eating fermented foods. Yeah, most fermented foods are vinegar, Carla. Okay, so we have then bile is very important for our detoxifications, and our bile does deplete itself. Every 6 to 12 hours, it'll like clear itself out and regenerate itself. So like that little pouch, it'll empty itself and then it'll refill, keeping the bile fresh, because we don't want toxic bile. We will get into that. And how do we help our bile deplete and replenish itself? This is going to sound really contradictory, but we eat good fat. And good fat, when I'm referencing good fat, I'm really considering our monounsaturated fats. Annie, Carla, many of you will know that is my fat of preference for many reasons. That is where the research is. So that would be like our extra virgin olive oil, our avocado oil. So it's kind of like changing the oil in our car. And if we don't change the oil in our car or the battery, like what happened to me today, for a long period of time, then things can start to get really gelatinous or sticky or gluggy. And you may remember the post I did last Thursday, I think, on my business page, where I spoke about bile sludge. Most people have heard of gallstones. Nearly nobody has heard of bile sludge, so we'll get into that. But if we eat enough of this really good fat, now not loads, but it needs to be in your diet, especially if you want good skin and hair and lubrication and all that. But it's kind of like giving ourselves that oil change every day, because it stimulates our CCK, the cholecystokinin enzyme, which then allows the gallbladder to contract and then release bile, and then prevents us from getting bile sludge or gallstones. So the next one, and I hope I'm not losing you, because I'm going to stop with this kind of more detailed talk in just 1 minute, but I do want to just have you guys understand this, and let me know if I'm confusing you as well. So the next enzyme, as I mentioned, is an enzyme called secretin, and that one is made from amino acids, about 22 amino acids. And the lower our pH is in our stomach, again, hydrochloric acid, so important for gallbladder health. This is why I had gallbladder issues, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the lower your pH is, then the more secretin we get. And then secretin stimulates your pancreas, which is where most of our enzymes come from, to make even more enzymes and bicarbonate to help break down our proteins. So this is where we've got bile. The gallbladder is important in breaking down fat and proteins. So we've heard of hydrochloric acid and we've heard of enzymes, but most people have not heard of bicarbonate. And the body will make bicarbonate, and bicarbonate is important because of our super acidic food that's coming down from our stomach. Like, that food has been bound up in all this acid from our stomach, and it's coming down from our stomach, and then the bicarbonate has to help make that more alkaline to complete the whole digestive process. Because remember, I said we've all different pHs throughout our body, and our body will regulate them. So you have like your alkaline in your mouth, and then you're very acidic here, and then you become alkaline again, and then when you get to your lady parts, you're supposed to be very acidic there too. And the body will, and the blood, it's neither acidic or alkaline. It mostly will maintain that kind of neutral pH, tiny, teeny, tiny bit alkaline, like teeny, tiny bit alkaline, but the body will regulate itself, and it's important to keep that. I actually did a really good podcast episode, like way back in my early days, like way back, a few years ago, and it's titled Understanding pH in Your Body, I think. Like, in that one I go through, okay, we start pH here, here, and I go right through it all. You should check that out again, because again, when marketing comes into it and they're telling you to get more alkaline and stuff, and now you've got BV and yeast infections all year long, it could be something as simple as you're drinking too much alkaline water, and people are buying these countertop machines that are creating alkaline water. So anyway, see, this is why I have to stick to my notes, because I go off on these tangents. Okay, so we've got our bicarbonate then, and that's going to complete the whole digestive. Like bicarbonate, it is what it sounds like: bicarbonate of soda, baking soda, to help regulate your pH. I'm sure someone's going to ask about bicarbonate of soda for acid reflux, so I'll wait till they do. So before we go on, there's one more thing I need to mention, because this is actually insane how it'll impact not just your gallbladder, but your gastric health. If you're someone with SIBO or bloating or like chronic constipation, this is really important. So I want to just touch on the vagus nerve, and I have spoken about the vagus nerve a lot in a lot of posts and maybe a podcast on it. I can't remember, I do so many. So the vagus nerve will directly impact your gallbladder, and this nerve is really important. So like I said, it impacts your digestive system, your gallbladder, your central nervous system, and even the immune system. And this nerve can be really easily damaged. I was speaking to a client the other day trying to establish why she has this severe bloating, like just crazy bloating all the time, and asking all these questions. And I was like, did you ever have any sort of head or neck or brain trauma? And she's like, no, I don't think so, unless, and I hope she's not watching, but this is the gist of the story, unless you consider going through the windscreen in a car crash when I was 16 as head trauma. And I was like, yes, I would definitely consider that to be trauma to your head. So immediately that was like, okay, I don't know if this is the sole reason that she's having these issues, but I definitely think it's a contributing factor. Like, I got hit in the head with a hurl. You probably don't know what a hurl is, but a hurl is like, in Ireland we have a game called hurling, and they have these big fucking, wooden sticks, and it has a steel brace on the end of it. And we were just messing around the streets, and one of the guys swung it, but at the same time I bent down to pick up the ball and caught me in the head here, and I can still feel like the scar. So it fractured my skull, and I had to get stitches. Now that is not near my cranial nerves, but definitely some head trauma there for sure. Like, I remember there was a lot of blood, but I was like, why is everyone screaming? Because you can't see your face, of course. But not to go too much off, back to this vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve, it's a very important nerve. It's called the cranial nerve number 10, so it's right at the back of your skull here, and you have many different cranial nerves, 7, 8, 9, and they're involved in like keeping your mouth moist, keeping your eyes moist, producing saliva. Like, they're involved in a lot of stuff. So it goes through your entire body, and it comes out to your tongue. So it goes down your neck like a tree. That's what it looks like, a big tree system through your body, but it turns off and does come out to your tongue. So you have all these different nerves in your tongue, which are part of the vagus nerve. So when you take apple cider vinegar, for example, part of the reason apple cider vinegar is so beneficial is because of that taste, which pings or stimulates the vagus nerve, whereas your apple cider gummies, of course, do not do that, as much as people hate to hear it. So this nerve has a direct effect on your parasympathetic nervous system too, which is your rest and digest system. And the parasympathetic nervous system tells your body to kind of like, hey, stop, let's slow down and rest, instead of that sympathetic nervous system, that stress nervous system, that's your flight or fight system, that's like, oh, alarms, stress, anxiety, let's go, that system that most of us are nearly always in nowadays. So when it comes to the vagus nerve, our parasympathetic nervous system, so the way I remember it is parasympathetic, I think of P, and I think of peace, rest and digest, and then the sympathetic nervous system, I think of the S, so sympathetic being stressed, fight or flight system. So with the vagus nerve, it directly influences that peace system. It actually starts to innervate the stomach and helps us digest everything. It's a big part of the cephalic phase of digestion. And the cephalic phase of digestion, in really simple terms, is how the digestive processes get activated. So some people will think about their favorite meal and they'll start producing digestive acids and enzymes. When you walk into like Cobb's or a really nice bakery and you smell the scones and the bread, the smell activates your digestive system. It's like your body says, hey, we're about to have food. Let's get ready to digest. So it starts to pump out the enzymes and making the acids. That's your cephalic phase of digestion. It's like a pre-phase of digestion. But here we have acetylcholine. Now, you may have heard of acetylcholine because you get choline from eggs. So especially if you're talking about hormones, you'll hear a lot about choline. So acetylcholine, though, it is a neurotransmitter compound, and it's produced in your nerve terminals, so it directly is impacted by the vagus nerve, but it's also made by enzymes in your stomach. So it's part of the vagus nerve stimulation and causes contraction of the gallbladder smooth muscle, like it helps with that pumping mechanism. But acetylcholine, part of this, the importance of this is if this vagus nerve gets damaged, then we also have a break in the acetylcholine production. And then that will prevent that kind of vagus nerve stimulation. So chewing your food and not eating on the go, which is something I've really been trying to sit down and eat lately, it's very helpful because it helps to put you in this peaceful rest state. You know, take a bite, don't look at your phone, put your fork down and chew and chew and chew. And we'll get to how this is relevant to me in a minute, but really the stress-free environment, it helps to turn on this parasympathetic nervous system, this more relaxed, peaceful system, and supports this phase of digestion, which is the gallbladder. So then we get more acetylcholine, and that is beneficial for female hormones and mental health and loads of stuff. So really important. Okay, so all that's important. Just to kind of go over that, we need our HCl, we need to get our enzymes going, we need our vagus nerve working properly. So anytime there's gut issues, I think you should always kind of ask yourself, have I had any sort of head trauma at all throughout my life? And it could have been like, come on, most of our moms probably did drop us on our head. Like, it happens. So it could have been something like that. It could have been like a drunken night out and you fell over and you hit your head. Like, it could have been anything. So that's probably part of why so many people have gut issues nowadays as well. Okay. Whew. So gallstones, gallbladder. So how are gallstones formed? So you don't always have to have gallstones. You could just have bile sludge. You could just have inflammation of the gallbladder and around the pancreas in that area. And there are cases where there's no gallbladder problem at all. It is all in your gut, but the symptoms look like it's a gallbladder issue. So how are gallstones formed? I kind of mentioned this at the start. So you've got your bile and then your cholesterol that you get in from your diet. So bile and cholesterol form together, and bile is supposed to take cholesterol out of your body if it's very viscous and free flowing. And that's what we want. We want it to move. Because when it doesn't, when it becomes more stagnant, the bile, which also is binding cholesterol in it, it becomes stagnant and then it becomes toxic. And that, over time, that's where we start to see the formation of this sludge, or this bile sludge, or gluggy, sticky bile. So that's, you can see this on an ultrasound. I shared a picture in here in the event earlier. You can see the sludge lying at the bottom of the gallbladder. So with stones, you would see stones, you'd see the round shape, but with sludge, it is just like a layer of sludge. So if you leave that sludge there for too long without taking care of it, then that's eventually going to harden to an extent where it becomes stones. And there's one thing I just want to kind of throw in. It's almost irrelevant, but I just want to throw it in. Gallstones, they're not like kidney stones. Kidney stones are hard like stones. Gallstones are a bit more squishy because they're softer. They're made of fat, so it's bile and fat basically. So they are a bit more squidgy. I mean, almost irrelevant, but someone might find it interesting. So then you have these stones, and they can either sit in the gallbladder, and most people have stones, and they just sit in the gallbladder, and they don't cause any issues at all. And these are actually called silent gallstones. Like, whoever came up with that name was clearly a genius. But most people have stones, and I would just say it's part of society nowadays, how most people eat and everything. But when you start having these problems, these symptoms where you've got too many stones, or maybe the stones, your body's trying to excrete them or trying to pass them, but then they're getting stuck in the bile duct. And at this stage, once they've became stones, they're like little hedgehogs. They've crystallized and they got all the little spikes and shards sticking out of them. And then that, of course, is cutting into you, and you're getting all this pain and inflammation and burning sensation. And at that stage, depending on the size of the gallstones, you may need surgery, you may be at the point of no return, or there may still be a chance you can do some natural work on it. For sure, you can find out with an ultrasound what stage are you at as well. And some people are really intuitive too. They'll know. Like me, for instance, when they go through a time of stress and maybe food choices are not great, so you have, I'll explain the stress in a minute, so you have the stress, you have the poor food choices not great, and you start experiencing some symptoms. Maybe not so severe, but there's still symptoms. So mine weren't like severe, not like my sister. She was crippled over in pain, couldn't walk, couldn't think, couldn't breathe, whereas I would just kind of get the inkling, oh, something's not right here, like something's going on. But then when the stress is removed and you're eating good again and doing all the right stuff, it's gone. So the body's able to pass the bile stones by itself, and then they get excreted through your intestines, through your poop. So then you just excrete them out. Unlike the kidney stones, where the kidneys would come out in your urinary tract and be quite painful, but gallbladder are a little bit different. You can just poop them out that way. So it really depends on like the size and how many you have and the situation, and also like how well you take care of your body. Is your body very inflamed? Because there's a lot of factors obviously in something like this. So, oh no, you got jaundice, Alison? Did you get surgery? I'm sorry to hear that. So that's how they're formed, and now, like I mentioned, inflammation is a huge factor, and I considered calling myself the inflammation queen on Instagram or something like that, because that's all I seem to talk about. Inflammation is what makes our hair fall out. Inflammation gives us wrinkles. Inflammation kills our brain cells. Inflammation destroys our menstrual cycle. Like, it's inflammation everywhere. But inflammation in regards to the gallbladder, this is a huge player there, because you've even got, like Alison, you said you got gallstones stuck in your bile duct. Well, if you were very inflamed and the bile duct, this is hyper exaggerating, but if your bile duct is normally that size when it's not inflamed, but now it's inflamed and it squashes down to this size, then there's a higher likelihood that your body's trying to detoxify stones, but they get stuck because of all this inflammation as well. So, what are some of the symptoms? And these symptoms can be relevant for bile sludge and gallstones. Like bile sludge and gallstones, they kind of have the same symptoms. The bile sludge tends to be more kind of milder, like what I was saying I experienced, and then it goes, your body can clear it out, because you're kind of at that intermittent phase where it's not fully viscous, not fully hard, so you still have a chance where you can make it more fluid again, but you'll still get the same symptoms. So the symptoms you might experience, diarrhea, especially after consuming fat, and sometimes protein, because your body's, if your gallbladder issues are because of low hydrochloric acid and enzymes, then the protein's going to be a problem as well. Some people will also get bloating after fat consumption. I find this is more rare, but it's definitely a symptom, extreme bloating after just fat. So if you were, say, doing ketogenic and you kept bloating, that might be something to consider. So then you will have pain in your upper stomach, like I mentioned earlier. So your stomach being here to the left, your stomach, you can't really see, I'm not wearing the best jumper for this. So here's my ribs, where my ribs start to separate. My stomach is here over on the left. I can feel my stomach. it's full of my salad. So you'll get the pain over this side. So it's upper stomach area on your right, around the ribs or so. And some people will experience it around the intestines where it starts to connect with IBS, and then inflammation, if you have inflammation in the other organs like the pancreas, or even inflamed liver, which you don't want, so hopefully you never get that. You can get that burning or pain sensation again on the upper right quadrant, but in the back here. So not directly under your shoulder blade, but down 2 or 3 inches. And it might feel like a pain or a weird burning sensation. Like you'll like, oh, this doesn't feel good. And it's only one area all the time. And the skin around that area too can actually get itchy. So even if you've no pain or burning, that one spot the skin can get itchy, which I find really interesting. And then you can get pain in your right shoulder, in here in the rotator cuff, right into the joint. You can get nausea after eating. That could come back to the low hydrochloric acid. You can get fatigue, because if you've constantly inflammation and you've got this diarrhea all the time, you're not absorbing nutrients, you're running to the bathroom, you're dehydrated, you're losing minerals, you're going to have this fatigue. And then headaches and irritability. Part of that's going to be the loss of hydration and minerals, but the irritability as well. If your body's constantly stressed, just all the time stressed and inflamed, you're going to be really irritable. You're going to snap at people. You're going to hear, "Mommy," and then you're just going to go, "Yes, what is it now?" So that kind of irritability. Usually it's irritability with family members. So those are some of the symptoms. They're kind of the more common. Now, my sister's symptoms are really severe, because you can get really severe indigestion as well with gallbladder issues. So she will feel like just constant pain in between her chest bones, and just like a rock in her stomach, and then the whole IBS thing. So some people are, unfortunately, they get severe symptoms, and I kind of think that's where you're at the point of no return. Of course, your specialist, your doctor would tell you there. You would be able to see how severe things are on an ultrasound for sure. And luckily enough, ultrasound's pretty easy. They're the one thing that can be diagnosed properly with an ultrasound. Okay. So everyone's still with me so far? I know I've been talking. I've been trying to stay on track with my notes. So Alison, this is still relevant for you as well, even though you've had your gallbladder removed. And the same with you, Julianne. And Danielle, the same with your mom. It's still very relevant, because you still are making bile. Just because you have your gallbladder removed, you're still making bile. And you're still consuming fat, aka cholesterol, so you can still have issues. You can still make gluggy bile sludge, inflammation, bile issues, cholesterol. You can still have a lot of issues here. So this is important. Okay, so everyone's favorite part. What are the causes of gallbladder issues or inflammation of the gallbladder, or gallstones and bile sludge? And I do know most people don't like to hear this. I know most people don't like to hear the truth all the time, but I'm still going to tell you. So, because if you know what the causes are, then you can do the opposite to that. Even if someone doesn't tell you, do this, this, or this, at least if you know what the cause is, you can do the opposite, and that's going to make a difference in itself. So a low fiber diet is a big contributing factor to gallbladder issues and gallstones, more so than people No. So fiber in itself is important for so many things. Fiber is high in magnesium. I'm sure everyone's heard, because it's kind of being screamed from the mountaintops for the last year or two, everybody's magnesium deficient, and they are. But why? Is it because our low fiber diets and most of our magnesium comes from green vegetables? And most people don't eat a lot of green vegetables. They might get one serving a day if we're lucky. The majority of people out there are not eating green vegetables. But fiber also binds to bile. So this bile sludge, or where the bile starts to become toxic, fiber binds to that and carries it into your intestine, where you make poop or waste and you poop it out. Fiber is huge when it comes to the gallbladder. Then you have a sedentary lifestyle. Not moving enough is a big thing. Even not walking enough is big when it comes to the gallbladder. I wanted to pull up this study that I had, and it was really interesting, showing the effects of exercise on, there's that. I have so many studies, I have to go through everything. So this study specifically was showing that having a sedentary lifestyle directly contributed to inflammation of the gallbladder, whereas exercise encouraged that contraction and the removal and detoxification of that gluggy, sludgy bile. And I will find it and I'll just pop it at the bottom. Gallbladder, see. Exercise. Here, I found it. So what it says is, this study shows us that ATP, one of our energy production molecules that is produced when we exercise, ATP being energy, stimulates gallbladder activity, helping it work more efficiently. The study says, during gallbladder inflammation, muscle contraction in response to excitatory antagonists is greatly reduced. I know I said I wouldn't use too many long words, but basically when we exercise we make energy, and ATP induces gallbladder smooth muscle contraction, the pumping that I told you about. So a sedentary lifestyle is, whether or not people like to hear it, it is a contributing factor. And here's the thing, because I was saying this to a guy, and I mentioned this a while ago. I was saying this to a guy in the gym a few weeks ago, just in passing, just conversation. And I was like, you know, if people can get to the gym, it's great. If people can be successful, it's great. Which is why I think nutrition is kind of the easier approach, because we're not requiring people to go to a gym or go to a class, even though that would be amazing. But society has set us up to be sick, basically. We're too busy to go for a walk. We don't have time to go to the gym. We have to pick up the kids from school. We have to make dinner. We have to do the after school activities, the paper runs, the this, that, and the other. Like, the way society is designed now, giving us all these chores and responsibilities, we don't have time to prioritize our health the way we should, which is why nutrition is an easier approach, because you're not, some of you might disagree with me, but you're not really asking for too much time commitments. Like, you're not asking someone to try squeeze in an hour at the gym. If you can go for a walk, amazing. But nutrition, you're already going to be in your kitchen, you're already going grocery shopping, you're already going to be eating. So the time there is not so much a demand factor. Okay. Overconsumption of fat and carb combos. What do I always say? Don't combine your fat and your carbs unless it's refeed day. So what makes cholesterol? It is fat, but also excess carbohydrates. Your liver converts excess carbohydrates or excess sugar into cholesterol and triglycerides. A high sugar diet, same thing. Even if you didn't have fat, if you just had loads of sugar all the time, your liver is going to convert that into cholesterol, because it has to put it somewhere. Losing weight too quickly, believe it or not, can cause gallbladder issues. There's somewhat of a stress factor there. Fasting. Leanne, you'd be interested to hear this. Fasting can cause gallbladder issues because fasting can downregulate hydrochloric acid production and enzyme productions as well. And fasting can cause, because you're fasting, and I recommend fasting, but I've, like the fasting masterclass I did a few weeks ago, it has to be done smartly. If you're fasting, then that bile that's sitting in your gallbladder, remember at the start of this class I said your gallbladder will deplete its bile every 6 to 12 hours, so it'll empty out that bile and then refill it with fresh bile. Well, if you're fasting and you're not eating anything, you're not getting those signaling factors to the gallbladder to clear itself out and then refill with fresh stuff. So the bile that is in there, it's sitting there for longer and it's becoming toxic. And then you also, apart from that, you also have the other considerations like, am I lowering hydrochloric acid? Am I lowering enzymes? And this is why, Samantha, if you watch this, Annie, I think you've done this, maybe Carla, a few of you, this is why sometimes I would prefer a mono diet than doing a full fast in some people. You can tell if they have gastric issues when they fast, that they need to do a mono diet instead. But fasting can cause gallbladder issues. So let's move on. Stress is what caused my gallbladder issues. So how does stress cause gallbladder issues? When we're stressed, our blood flow gets pulled away from our core, from our organs, and to like our survival organs. So the blood is pulled away from your digestive system and your hands and your legs, and it's just pushed towards your heart to keep you alive. So that when we're stressed, we can get a bit colder, but if we're chronically stressed, we'll have bowel issues. Stress causes bloating, because when you pull the blood away from the digestive system, well, then you're also reducing the production of hydrochloric acid as well. So like I mentioned, when I'm stressed, I will be like, oh, that I can feel it in just under, like below my shoulder blades, and I'm like, damn, stress, always the thing. So stress, we knew it was a killer, but on so many levels. Hypothyroidism can be a cause of gallbladder issues. I spoke about this a few weeks ago, and I swear we're nearly done. Gallbladder issues can be a signal of hypothyroidism before you get a hypothyroidism diagnosis. That can be an early signaling factor. Hey, you have hypothyroid issues. When your thyroid is slow, everything slows down. That's why hypothyroidism and constipation go hand in hand, because it slows down your whole digestive tract. I don't want to linger on that too much, but if you have gallbladder issues, that can be a pre-indication that you have hypothyroidism, and you are going to get a diagnosis eventually, hopefully, if your doctor is good. Low hydrochloric acid, pregnancy, family history. There is a genetic factor here with gallbladder issues for sure, but science tells us that genetics is less than 5% of health outcomes. So just because all my aunties and my mom and my sister has it, and I might have an inkling of it, it doesn't mean that I'm definitely going to need surgery or anything if I get my act together and take care of it. So genetics, it's not a determining factor. High triglycerides are a cause of gallbladder. That goes back to that cholesterol and diet. Low HDL, so low good cholesterol, back to diet again. And then another one most people don't know about is food allergens. These are a big common cause of gallbladder trouble. So let's say you're already like paleo, or you're already gluten-free like you, Carla, and you feel like all these things are already addressed. Well, there's still some allergens that can cause gallbladder issues. So in order of the most likely offender to the least, these would include, and I'm going to put up a little PNG probably tomorrow of this list for people to save, but this is like the most likely offender: eggs, pork, onions, chicken, turkey, milk, coffee, oranges, corn, beans, nuts, apples, tomatoes, peas, cabbage, some spices, peanuts for sure, and I would throw cashews in there as well, some fish, and rye. Now this may seem like a lot, but you could start with just the top few, those most likely offenders, and then work your way down through the list to try and kind of pinpoint what was affecting you. Then we have medications. Some medications, whether it's birth control or antibiotics, and even some like statins and lipids and proton pump inhibitors, they're known to cause gallbladder issues. Almost 20% of all gallbladder issues are caused by medications. And I'm going to pop a study into the comments once the call is done. But the title of this study is Drug-Induced Gallbladder Disease Incidence, Etiology and Management. So it gives you a list of all the different drugs that can cause gallbladder issues, in case you want to look. Okay, we're getting there. Infections. So there's also infections that can drive gallbladder issues. A big one is Giardia, which is a parasitic infection. So Giardia can nest itself right up in the gallbladder and cause inflammation, kind of like H. pylori can nest itself into your stomach lining, into your tissue. Well, Giardia will do that in the gallbladder. Okay, so as we start to wrap up now, what do we do to support your gallbladder? This is where you might want to take some notes. And again, this will go up on YouTube and it'll be in the group here if you need to go back. Like, what did she say? Go back and take notes again. So our fiber. One, our fiber binds to bile. Fiber binds to bile. Fiber helps us with detoxification and pooping out toxins. Fiber also is a high source of magnesium. Magnesium, not only does it help relax you, one of the reasons that magnesium helps with bowel movements is because it relaxes the sphincter muscles and it just lets everything fall out of you. But magnesium has been shown to relax the tissue or the muscle of the gallbladder as well, helping the bile get out of it so you can do that kind of detoxification cycle I was talking about. So your green vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, apples, chia pudding, berries are great. Kale and kale chips are great, and then if you get the kale chips with nutritional yeast, that's an extra bonus, because these beneficial yeasts, not only do they help kill off bad bacteria, they can really help with when we get into sirtuin foods, helping you filter out the really good nutrients basically. So we got our greens, that includes beets, artichoke and asparagus. They all have detoxifying effects and they support the liver. I am going to get into specifics, but just the kind of macro stuff right now. Monounsaturated fats. I generally try to stick to monounsaturated fats with my clients. You'll know this, or you should know this. Carla and Annie and Alice and Leanne. I'm always like, try to just keep your fats as simple as possible. Like, use avocado oil for your cooking, extra virgin olive oil on your salads. Yeah, you can have other fats, but the monounsaturated fats should be like your main focus. And for another reason, there is research out there, and I've posted the study, I believe, in this group somewhere, in the biohacking group, that saturated fats can drive up inflammation or the inflammatory response in some people. So you look at, like, some people who have too much cheese, apart from the other factors, cheese is high in saturated fat, or some people that don't do well on a ketogenic diet, or maybe they thought they did well, but now they're seeing all these symptoms and gallbladder issues and inflammatory issues, and it was a saturated fat, because the research is there showing us that saturated fat is quite inflammatory. And any studies you see around the Mediterranean diet and heart healthy fats, not what they say on the boxes of B-Cell or Nestle or anything like that, but it all comes back to these monounsaturated fats. So I say, to keep it simple, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Yeah, you can use coconut oil, but sparingly. If you have yeast infections, yeah, coconut oil can be great. Coconut oil can be great for your skin and stuff. But to keep it simple, the two would be avocado and extra virgin olive oil. And then get your good proteins too, because we mentioned these enzymes are made out of amino acids. Protein is so important. Animal proteins stimulate the production of hydrochloric acid in your stomach. Those of you that have done my master's guide, when we get to the section, I think it's in module 4 or 5, the order of eating, and I say let's start with our protein first, because we stimulate our hydrochloric acid and aid in digestion, and then our greens, and then our fat, and then our carbs, and so on. Depends on your meal makeup, of course, but protein first. And if you're having gallbladder issues, let's go for those lean proteins as much as possible, because again, that saturated fat could be there in those fattier proteins, depending on where you get it. Maybe they're not grass-fed, maybe there's some other toxins in the fat, so let's go for lean as much as possible. And we do want to be kinder on our body with fat when we're having gallbladder issues. Now, salmon and some fatty fish can be an exception because of their monounsaturated anti-inflammatory properties, and this is for some people. It depends on the severity of the gallbladder issues. And then we want to add in our anti-inflammatories. Now, before I go into specific supplements, and I am conscious of the time, I just wanted to bring up two things. So I already mentioned that exercise study. Exercise encourages the pumping, the contraction of the gallbladder, the detoxification. Exercise moves stuff. Like, it moves fluids. So exercise. The next one I posted a couple of weeks ago, which is really interesting. Where is it gone? So this one is, I mentioned lemons. Bitter, tart, sour foods. Everything bitter, tart, sour foods. Not just for your gallbladder, for fat loss, for keeping fat loss off, for good health, for the vagus nerve, for keeping infections at bay, for immunity. But so this study was gallstones dissolving capacity of lemon juice and a lemon juice based dressing. So this lemon juice dressing was olive oil and lemon juice together. That was their dressing, and most of us do this. Like, we make dressings. So olive oil and lemon juice. This was the dressing in the study. And what it says was the results revealed that the gallstone dissolving capacity of this natural vinaigrette, that they called it, reached 100% after 7 days immersion. So the immersion being they put the gallstones into this liquid. So your gallstones potentially won't dissolve in 7 days, but regularly consuming this natural vinaigrette, as they called it, can help break down your gallstones. So I wanted to say that's really interesting. And then one more thing that I don't think people know about, but I may have done it on my Instagram stories this morning, I can't remember. And that was basically, if you're having any sort of gallbladder issues, it would be wise to sleep on your left hand side, because remember I told you your gallbladder is down here on the right upper quadrant of your abs, and when you lie on your left, that takes the pressure off your gallbladder. Like, you're not squashing your gallbladder anymore, so now the gallbladder can detoxify itself a lot easier and do all these processes that it's supposed to do when you're asleep. And it can, because you take the pressure, you can get instant relief from the pain by lying on your left side. I know Dr. Berg, I don't follow him too much, but I do know he has a video about a kind of acupuncture technique that if you're having a flare, like you can just, even just sitting watching TV, more lean to your left. Obviously, this is my left. It takes all the pressure away from your right side, helping everything flow better. But he has an acupuncture concept that if you do get a flare, instead of pressing on the gallbladder, as some people would be tempted to massage it and like just help it relax, what you do is you would go to the opposite side under your left rib cage, about 2 inches down where your pancreas would be, and you should feel your pancreas under distress or hardened, and you would just massage that out for 10 to 15 minutes, and that should give you relief too. I haven't tried that, but I know he has a video on YouTube if you want to look it up. But for sure, the lying on the left I've done a lot, and that has helped me too. So those were the few things: exercise, lemon and olive oil, sleeping on your left. Okay. Okay, 2 more things, some supplements really quick that we can take. You don't need to take all of these. You take a couple and then go from there. So for me, I do a lot of apple cider vinegar. I do lemon juice. I do dandelion tea. I've done the liver gall supplement from Natural Factors as well. I have enzymes and they contain ox bile, so that's where I get my bile too. So I've done a couple of things. Usually it comes down to the fiber though and the stress aspect. So, and this list you will find on my business page as well. So beetroot powder you can get. Annie, I know you like beetroots. You could dehydrate your beetroots. Beetroot powder, phosphatidylcholine. There's a lot of research around phosphatidylcholine and its efficacy for breaking down gallstones. Phosphatidylcholine enriched diet prevents gallstone formation in mice susceptible to cholestasis, and that's in the Journal of Lipid Research. Keyword there being prevent. I know we're not mice, but we have potential there. Bile salts, like your ox bile. Phosphorus drops have been shown to help break down stones. Taurine, dandelion and milk thistle. You obviously would not do all of these, you'd pick a couple. Artichoke, you can get artichoke supplement, or you could just add artichoke into your diet regularly. Fringe tree, which is a herb that helps to thin out your bile and smooth out those hedgehogs or the crystals, and it also helps to relieve fluid retention. Apple cider vinegar, lemon juice and extra olive oil, the combo I mentioned, but also all vinegars, anything bitter, tart, sour. There is some research to show that Shanka piedra can help with gallstones. A lot of the research has kind of been around kidney stones and even dysbiosis in your gut, but there is some studies to show it can be beneficial or may be beneficial for gallstones. I did try it. I don't think I felt too much of a difference with the Shanka piedra though. And then you have the Natural Factors Live Gall. Livgal is what it's called. It's a mix of dandelion, artichoke, turmeric, and something else. It may be milk thistle. Many of you will know that dandelion and milk thistle are good for the liver. What's good for the liver is going to be good for the bile. Black walnut can be helpful too. And then another one that I know a few of you have, Alison, you have, I think, Carla, you might have, and yes, I'm conscious of the time, we're nearly done, is berberine. Berberine has been shown to be quite beneficial with gallstones, which had me considering that I haven't taken berberine in quite a while because I didn't need it. My blood sugars were good and my weight's been coming off good, so I didn't need it, but now I'm reconsidering it. So berberine, turmeric and ginger can be or may be beneficial for gallbladder issues. It would make sense to me because berberine is part of my anti-inflammatory protocol. And berberine helps with good gut health. So yeah, definitely something to consider there. So if you guys want that list, it is over on my business page. The studies I will share in the links below. There's one more thing I want to finish with, and then we'll see if there's any questions. There are some side effects to getting your gallbladder removed. And I do understand that sometimes surgery is the only option. I know if you do leave these gallbladder issues to go too extreme or too far, you can cause a lot of other issues to occur. So, but there are some side effects that I don't think people know. They may not affect everyone, but it's nice to connect the dots. If you see your cholesterol starts to go up over the next few years and you've had your gallbladder removed, well, that could just be because you had your gallbladder removed and now you're not detoxifying or breaking down fats properly, so they're in your bloodstream. So there you go. Increased cholesterol levels is a side effect of having your gallbladder removed. Increased gut issues, IBS issues, increased diarrhea, all that is a big part of having your gallbladder removed, because now you're still making bile, the liver still makes bile, and the cystic duct, which is below your liver too, now that you don't have a gallbladder, the cystic duct kind of steps in and takes some of the bile, but it's only small. So you're less able to tolerate fat now, so you can get diarrhea and all these gut issues. Then another problem is increased estrogen and menstrual cycle issues, heavier periods, lots of blood clots, because bile is very important for detoxifying hormones too. And then you've weakened immunity because the gallbladder, as I mentioned at the beginning, the gallbladder is not just a storage site for bile. The gallbladder is very important because it homes a lot of good bacteria as well that are essential for your immune system. And then when you consider it, I know most people won't, but when I consider it, if you're having constant diarrhea all the time, then you're going to have some malnutrition there, which means your immune system's not getting what it needs to be strong, so you will have that weakened immune system. And then the last one is decreased vision and eye health is a side effect of having your gallbladder removed, because, where am I gone? Because the gallbladder helps us metabolize vitamin A, and vitamin A is essential for macular health. Krill can help a lot here. Like, krill is amazing for macular health, but a lot of people who don't take krill, they will see regression in their night vision, their overall vision. You might see changes in the eye color as well, maybe just not jaundice, but going a bit more yellow. Even poor skin health. Vitamin A is essential for the immune system, so decreased vision is a side effect of having your gallbladder removed, unfortunately. So that's everything. That was quite a lot. Would it help to take a HCl supplement? Yes, a hydrochloric acid supplement would help if you're looking at the gallbladder, especially if you feel that the problem, the reason you have gallbladder issues is because you have low hydrochloric acid. And one easy way to know that, well, two easy ways to know that would be if you take apple cider vinegar and you feel a bit of a burning sensation, that could be because your hydrochloric acid is so low. Now, I don't mean a lot of burning where you might have an ulcer or something, just a bit. But if you eat a lot of protein and you find you get diarrhea, that hydrochloric acid primarily digests protein. So if you eat protein and you get diarrhea, chances are you've got low hydrochloric acid. But look, this is how I see it. I'm going to kind of wrap it up unless someone else can squeeze in one more question. A lot of us, and there's a couple of people that spring to mind, like a couple of clients that have gut issues and indigestion and gallbladder pain and all this, and I look at their lifestyle and I look at my lifestyle and I'm like, this is stress. This is stress causing this. Stress has reduced your hydrochloric acid, and there's always a downstream effect. So the hydrochloric acid's up here, the gallbladder's down here. So low hydrochloric acid is going to have this downstream effect. So what I would do with that, Leanne, is try hydrochloric acid for a cycle or two. A cycle generally means a bottle or two. See if it makes a difference. And if it does, great, you knew that was it then. And you can still use your vinegars and your lemons and limes and bitter, tart, sour foods to keep signaling the vagus nerve to make more hydrochloric acid. So you can totally do that. And like, it wouldn't hurt if your hydrochloric acid is fine and you take a hydrochloric acid supplement. There is a bowel tolerance point. I'll find it for you. I have it somewhere. Oh, it's in my thyroid guide. I'll send it to you though, like the information. There's a bowel tolerance point where you take so much hydrochloric acid and then you start having symptoms, and then you pull back and you know that is your perfect amount. So remind me to send that to you if I forget, Leanne, because you know what I'm like. Is it okay that I take berberine and betaine hydrochloric every day with my carb meal? Yeah. If you're having bowel issues though, you should probably take the hydrochloric acid with every meal. And when I say with every meal, I feel it's better to take it before the meal, like even 3 to 5 minutes before the meal, because you want to get it in there before you start eating. You want to boost all these acids and enzymes and metabolic factors. So berberine helps metabolize sugars. You want to bring these up before you bring the food in. So I've always felt it's better to take them first and not really in the middle. Like, you can take them in the middle, but I don't feel they're going to be as beneficial at all. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. It was a lot. This always happens. It was a lot, even though I had my notes. So I will save this video and upload it to YouTube, and I'll share the studies. If anyone has questions, comment, I'll respond. I can clarify anything you guys didn't understand. I hope you enjoyed this. Carla, I hope you made lots of chocolate while I was talking that I'm not going to eat until Christmas. But thank you all for spending some time with me. If you just hopped on, this was a great video. Pat myself on the back, but go back and watch from the start. Lots of steps and content in here. Okay, everyone, time to get ready for bed. Leanne, good night. You have to check in with me, Leanne, about our tea date, and I'll chat to you guys really soon. Good night, everyone.